Hey, it's your girl, Tashay Life. It seems like it has been forever since we last talked. We last spoke, I should say. But I must tell you that I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm so happy to be able to see you. And I feel like I'm actually physically hugging you because I had a chance to be reminded of not only the importance of people in your life, which of course I love people, but the importance as the seasons are changing. I'm looking at the pink flowers everywhere, and we're going from this massive cold to these cool, breezy afternoons. And everything is seeming new and fresh and peeking out fresh and peeking out new. As all this newness is around me, I am reminded of not only having the right environment around you, people, not only having people around you, but having the right people at the right time for the right reasons. And so, as we embark upon spring and newness, and Women's History Month, of course, would definitely be in there, I just want to get a chance to share with you as we gain our strength through truth, testimony, and transformation, the importance of the health of your circle in the right season and the right time. Your circle has to be healthy for you to be healthy. And it may sound a little strange, but the health of your circle plays a huge or has a huge impact on your heart. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's very much needed. Let's go. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tashay Life. I am so happy and excited and humbled and honored to be here with you. Let me tell you why. It has been an interesting season. Have you ever had that moment where you had everything laid out? You prayed, the Lord showed you, He told you, you knew everything you needed to do, you had it laid out, and then you were following the path, the course, and then everything was derailed. Everything was like, and you had to pivot. And pivot is a natural part of life. You know, we can pivot, that's no big deal. But it wasn't the pivoting. I must say that I'm accustomed to having to pivot. Especially for those of you who are believers, when you walk with the Lord, you know that pivot is a part of practice. You know, pivot is a part of practice. You know that the enemy from the beginning of time, whenever the Lord has done something, he tries to counter move it. It could be something just as generic as if the Lord sends someone in your life, the enemy sends someone in your life. The Lord sends an opportunity that sounds great, like the perfect career, the perfect job. The enemy sends something that sounds great, the perfect career, the perfect job, but it's not. It has a nuance in it. So that's when you're walking with spiritual discernment. But even more so than that, the pivot was okay. The pivots with a Z were okay. What was different than the pivots, and what made the difference in the pivots this time was the presence of people and the presence of the right people at the right time. So over the last few months, there have been interesting challenges, from transmissions going out on cars to having to rent cars to having a financial, like boom, 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 like go out, go out, go out, go out. More is going out than going in. And it's like, whoa. And while all of this is happening, I got children, I got the babies, they got things, we need to do. While all of this is happening, The Lord is continuing to downpour assignments into my life. And it was one of those moments where it's like, I trust you. Of course, I trust you and I'm obedient. But you see all this? Like, maybe, not saying you missed anything because, you God, the whole universe. I get that. But maybe I didn't cry loud enough when we were talking about this and you just thought maybe I wasn't as hurt as I was, or I wasn't as afraid as I was, or I wasn't as unsure as I was. And that's one thing about us as Christians. We have to be so careful and just to remain humble and be real. And one thing I pray you always get from me is that I'm real. It got to a point where it was hitting me so back to back, not to mention harassment on my job. Because when it boils down, that's what it was. So it got to the point where it was like, Lord, what do you want from me? And there were moments, even if I can be honest with you, up until doing this show, there were moments of silence. And he's telling me to be sure to stay on schedule and do the show. But I'm like, okay, I have what we're doing going forward, but what now? And I guess what I'm saying is, through all of this, one thing that kept me through every pivotal point is having the right circle. The right circle helped shape my heart posture. Stay with me. And it spoke to God's providential care during those times. And I'm sure you've heard it said that oftentimes when God is silent and he doesn't tell you to do something else, it's because you're still supposed to be doing the very last thing he told you. So going back, had the car problems. Okay. The day I had the car trouble with my truck was very ironic. It was having some issues, but I was trying to push through. Then it started sounding like it sounded like I'm like, oh my God, what's happening with the car? And I told God, I said, look, I don't like driving this car no more. People are acting like they don't want to fix it. I don't know what's wrong. This person says they'll do it. The next person says they won't. I said, this car does not represent you. It does not represent your glory. What would you have me to do with this? Literally, I went to work. I went back to work because I was on lunch break. And then I had to leave work to take my next break to get my baby. And I pulled out the parking space. All of a sudden, you heard the car clank, 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 clank. I'm like, what? Turned right on in, like the brakes went out. It's like the car totally said, I give up the ghost. And I'm sitting there like, you cannot be serious. This isn't exactly what I meant, So from the outside, it looked fine. So that started the whole thing. Then it was a series of rentals. Okay. I did not know rentals went up by the stock market day to day. So I'm like, okay, what's happening with this? Lo and behold, we went through all that other issues, taking place. And through it all, God is like, this is your next week's outline. This is your next month's outline. This is your next, blah, 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 your next book. And the biggest thing, two of the biggest things were the courses he gave me that are recorded to teach, in the process of recording to be done. And this huge experience that he's given me to do, charged me to do, that is totally, I'm a big thinker, right? But it was blowing my mind. And through it all, I'm sitting here, he's downloading this. I'm in tears. I don't know where to go, where to start with any of this. And I don't have a car. So then one day I just cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, I don't know what to do. And the Lord would whisper to me while we're praying and we're talking. He'll say, call and check on so-and-so. So I would call and check on one of the women of my church, who's an amazing mother. She's like a spiritual mother. And she had it on her heart to pray for me, even before she knew everything was going on. But then she found out what was going on, and she continued to pray for me. And we prayed, and shackles started breaking, and things started happening. And then another woman at the church, I cried out to her one day during text. I said, just want to let you know this is where we are, and I just want to share something with you, and this is how I feel. And but I know God is moving, and I do trust him, but I'm having a moment. Powerhouse of a sister called me instead of responding to the text, which was the original plan, and prayed for me. It turned into an hour-long prayer session. Felt the weight lifted. Two powerful sisters. Another mentor of mine in a business called and shared with her. And I wasn't just calling people around, just sharing my business. It was whoever the Lord prompted me to check on. And then the last person, the last two people were church members. One of them is some big wig. He is in the finance of the card industry. I don't even, he called out so many titles that I didn't even know what they were. But yeah, he's like the second largest something in Atlanta, whatever. It was a lot. And I was like, woo, favor. And then the other one was sister in church, was amazing because she was praying for me one day. I text her, because you just have your circle. And she said to me, have you heard of Turo? Because when you deal with other rental car companies, there's like the $300-400 deposit, then there's so many days, and they may not take cash, and it just went back and forth. And I said, yes, I've heard of it, but I never really did it. And it was something that I researched because I always said when I have a second or third car, I would do that. She put me on the Turo, even was kind enough to sew into the Turo for me, which was totally unexpected. I had the money, but she wanted to sew. So praise God, got us off to that. So those circle of people, along with my two children, and that is a show in and of itself, because I have 6 children, but let me tell you something. When you're raising children, your goal is not to make little yous. Your goal is to raise up, especially for believers, fully functioning followers of Christ. Now, yes, it's their choice. For all of you who are going to say that's their choice, they do what they want. Yes, it's their choice, but you are charged with giving them the foundation. And it's a flex, if you will, when your children who cuckoo cacawed with you and you change Pampers and all of that, and now you're praying together. When you used to go in the room and lay hands on them and pray and whatever, and now they come to do it with you. When your children go to be your sisters and brothers in Christ, that's a different level. Okay, so always be willing to let that be the goal. I know sometimes we want to imagine ourselves growing, our children growing up, and we all go hang out together, and for some people they want to smoke and drink and do all that with their children. That's really not my job, because I vow to keep that that parameter. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm your mother, and the older we get, the friendlier we become. So there's certain things I still don't tolerate around my children, from them. But we become friendly. But the real flex is when we minister together. There is no greater bond than ministering together. Because truth be told, you can do all those extra things here on earth, but if you don't know the Lord, my time with you is only on earth. But if you know the Lord, we have time way beyond earth until eternity. And so that's a different story. But that was the real flex. So with my 2 girls that are up here praying for me, and, it's really encouraging when the people who know you in the house believe in you. Okay. Because anybody can believe on you believe in you from the outside, because they only see what you show. Okay. The people who are in your house live with you. So they see the good, bad, the ugly, and the dog ugly. Okay. They see you at your best. They see you at your worst. They see you when you're real. They see when you're smiling when you really don't want to. and to still believe in you and what God wants to do with and through you after seeing all the ugly. That's a real big deal. You know, cosmetic surgeon people, they um, look at you and they see the things you don't like and what you want to change, and they can see the vision of what you want. Not that I'm promoting cosmetic surgery. I'm just saying, you know, even if it's plastic surgery and you were in a car accident, they can see the vision. You know, my brother, Robert Bates, the one who dresses me, um, it's amazing how, you know, I can call him and I can say not much of anything, you know, Robert, I don't have any, you know, pants. Robert, I have an event. Robert, you know, it's been a minute. I want something new. The weather is this or whatever. I'm just feeling like this. And he can read me and he will send everything that I need. I went to an engagement party about a month or two ago. And I was thinking to myself, I don't have anything to wear. Not remembering that Robert had just sent me something about a month, no, actually about 2, 3 months before that I didn't even remember. And when I went in the back of my closet, there was this perfect outfit. Some of you saw it, it was on my Facebook, black puff sleeves, these lace type something, sleeves trimmed in silk, something. I don't know what it is. But anyway, it was this beautiful outfit. And I was like, oh my God. And when he sent it to me, I was literally like, where am I going to wear this? I really don't have anywhere to really wear it. And it just turned out to be so perfect. And so my point is, those people see the vision. Okay. And they see the vision through the dilemma. They see the vision through the mess. They see the vision through the discouragement, through the shade, through what's blocking. And so my children still believe through all of this, these women from the church and man, the faith was there. And that's what we should do. Even in the Bible, when Moses got tired, Miriam and Aaron came alongside him and held up his hands. And so with heart issues, a lot of times, the first thing they do is try to find ways to take the pressure off the heart. Right? So I'm saying all that to say this season, these past 3 months have been a season attempting to totally distract from destiny assignments, but God still brought them through. They were intended to weigh you down to where you really didn't want to do anything. But God sends the ram in the bush, the what's necessary for you at the time. But what I found that was necessary at the time for me to receive those people was for me to break down, not break down necessarily in a snot fest, which I did have, but it requires a transparency that we're not always willing to share. So people tell me often, let's just say, you look rich. You look where'd you get that? Oh my, you dress like and I'm not bragging. I'm saying I've been told that pretty much all my life. And most of them don't know I really don't shop. Like I just mentioned about my brother, I really don't shop my clothes. I just am blessed to have a brother who has a boutique. And that's how God meets our need, because God promises to provide your need. He didn't promise me he'd give me a Macy's card and let me shop every week. He promised me that he'll meet my need, and he does. So when people would compliment on that, I'm very humbled, because it's not a place for me to boast like, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a place for me to humble, because God, you're keeping me. I didn't have a car. I didn't money was getting low for all those rentals, the week-long rentals. I mean, I was spending $2,000-$3,000 a month on rentals. Um, and for people, and to still be diligent. And so people believing in me and speaking life into me under the circumstances was monumental. So when the last young lady said, let me sow into the Turo, and I'm like, oh no, whatever. I had to be vulnerable, humble enough to admit that I am breaking. And I believe it is Isaiah. No. Is it Isaiah? Isaiah 51? Psalm 51. Psalm 51, where David said, a broken spirit and a contrite heart is well pleasing to the Lord. That's what he desires. A broken spirit is real. That is a sacrifice to the Lord, and it comes a point when we are at those pivotal moments where we look good, but we're not emotionally feeling good. It's important to be transparent. I have to say this, it came to me the other day, and I may have said it already before, but chime in. My late boyfriend, right? Especially in his later, the last maybe 6-9 months, a year, that we were together before his demise. We both could dress well for the most part. We both like to dress, whatever. But he got to the point where when we would go out on a date, he called and we have date night. He'd say, what are you wearing? And I'll say, oh, I'm wearing, champagne colored one piece, or silk one piece, some whatever. And he'll say, okay, so I'm going to wear my beige and cream, whatever, champagne, whatever. And we coordinate. And we would go out often, seriously. And people would always compliment us on our appearance. They would compliment us on our appearance, ask us, and we would go to some nice places. A lot of times people would ask us what we do. Are we part owners in some of these restaurants? One place that was over on the inlet that we went to, that was really our last real date, like a real nice date. We were sitting in the back. So you had these two arenas you could come in to this restaurant, right? And in the back, right in the center, there was this huge booth for those who wanted to rent out that area. And we were sitting there enjoying our dinner, our steak. And these very astute persons came up to us and said, oh my gosh, are you, I've never met the owners, because the owners actually, I think, were Black or, Black. But we didn't meet them. I was coming on a girlfriend's referral. And they were like, are you the owners? Because you guys look like you're the owners. And we were like, no, we're just enjoying a night out. He's like, no, I'm just here with my baby. But it was the appearance and the presence. And let me tell you something. Girls love to be spoiled. I loved the wine and the dining and the ambiance and the games we played. And it was absolutely amazing all the times that we went out and the dressing up and all of that. And that was fun. And it was enjoyable and it was needed. And yes, I like it. But you know what? When I think about our best conversations, our most intimate conversations, the conversations that came about where I really felt like I knew his heart and his intentions, were when we were most vulnerable and transparent and intimate. And I'm not talking about sexually intimate. I'm talking about when we were at the house and we had on sweats, probably no lashes. He didn't have on his grills when he did have them, or the jewelry was off. I'm going to tell you, one of our most passionate conversations that we had, I actually spoke at it at his homegoing. We were both in robes. Like, I had a white spa robe. If we were at the house or if I was at his house or whatever, he had a blue spa robe. And we were sitting there like kids, like, do you remember? Oh my God. What? Like, it was so deep and real because there was nothing covering. Sometimes we can be so dressed up that we cover. We can't get as naked as we should. You know, if I'm wearing a certain dress and my 6-inch heels, I might not just cock up on the couch and get as comfortable. But when I have on the sweats, I might get as comfortable. And those were our best conversations. No presuppositions. And a lot of times our breakthrough comes and is able to come when we are just transparent and vulnerable. So this season required me to be transparent and vulnerable. Not that I was prideful. I wasn't prideful. Well, I wasn't intentionally prideful. Let's go with that. I wasn't intentionally prideful. There was a part of me, and I posted about this on Facebook. And I've been going through a series on forgiveness and how to handle things, spirits of offenses and things like that on my Facebook. Check it out. But there was, I posted, I think yesterday, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself, because you played a part in getting you where you at. So I knew, based on a rash decision I made, a few over the years, but one particular rash decision I made put me in a position where I could have the cash, but I just couldn't walk on a car dealership and get the car that I wanted. Or even if I went on there and I got the car that I wanted, it would put me in a situation with other things because it wasn't the right time. Now, grace be unto God that it wasn't the right time, because that was his divine intervention. And I'll tell you why in a minute, because once I got vulnerable, everything worked out. But part of the pride was having to be here again. And if I can't be honest, it was like not my first time not having a car, because the car wasn't in the best position because I rushed to get a car. And because of that, I was having a moment where it was like, again, like I'm doing everything I know to do. I'm not a lazy girl. I'm not an overspender. The thing I buy the most, and usually I don't even buy those anymore because I learned how to make my own, is matcha. I have my matcha. Other than that, I'm not blatantly spending. So anyway, it was a moment where it was a season where I just had to break and say, this is too heavy. I can't do it. I don't know what you want from me. I need you to tell me something. And I was vulnerable with them, the people he told me to be, because it wasn't for everybody. And once I did that, that last sister was like, can I sew into this? I want to do this. She did. That set me on a path with Turo, in renting a car from a great guy. That went on close to 3 weeks. I want to say 3 weeks. It wasn't quite a month. Went on close for 3 weeks. And just when I was about to return the car to him, I said, listen, I'm going to do it another day, because in the next day or two, I'm going to go buy a car. So can you extend? I'm going to go ahead and extend it. I'll send you the request. And he was like, oh, you looking for a car? I'm a dealer, right? Just in case if you don't find what you're looking for, I'm a dealer. I'm certified and da 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 da. And I'm like, what? He said, yeah. So if you just, want to save that, and I can work with you. And I'm like, what? And anyway, that opened up a huge door to a dealer who's a mechanic. It's not a 2025, but it is actually the same vehicle that I was renting from him, minus a year or two. Same vehicle, same gas mileage, same what I need for me and my babies. Plus he'll do work for me as a discount because now I know a mechanic and I needed another one, you know. And I have two now because you always need two. You need one mobile and then one he'll work on his own car. So it turned into this domino effect. And I guess if you had to do anything, you always look at obedience breeds obedience. Discipline breeds discipline. Excuse me, because I was obedient when the Lord would tell me to call this person and just check on them. Because the fervent, effectual prayers of the righteous availeth much. God was having me serve other people in the capacity that I could at the time, which was prayer and checking on you. I could serve in that capacity, which allowed it to come back to me in the other capacity. And together we built a fortress we built an army of warfare against the enemy that dismantled the fortress that was keeping the blessings from coming through. Now, let me put a point here, right here, because we often mess this up. I think it's in Luke. Well, I know it's in Luke, but it might be chapter 12. Do I have my Bible? It's the scriptures in Luke 12. And this wasn't a Bible study, but I mean, this just came to me because we often get it wrong. And if you need a good study Bible, I'm putting this up here. He don't know nothing about this and what I'm doing, but Tony Evans Study Bible. If you ever need a good study Bible, get the Tony Evans Study Bible. First of all, he's just a great man of God, a great teacher. It would be my prayer, one, that he comes back to teaching. I know he stepped down for a little while. But I honor him, and that just made me even have more respect for him. He does what he said in one of his videos. He believes what he teaches. He believes what he preaches. I honor that man. Not idolize him. I honor him. He's a great man of God. But also, he is the only Black pastor, or the first Black pastor, theologian, if you will, to publish his own commentary. And I want to say study Bible as well, but I know the commentary. So, and it's easy to read, and he's just good at it, at explaining. If you never listen to Tony Evans, you want to listen to Tony Evans to get a good practical foundation of the Word of God. What did he say? But the Father told him, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. It's the scripture that says, give and it will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, give, and it will come back to you when you give to the Lord. That's it. Luke chapter 11, verse 9. But if you want to read all Luke chapter 11, at least pick up at all chapter 11 is good, but if you really pick up at 5, it's good. Because let me tell you what it's about, and we often mess this up. You're going to hear this in churches a lot. Churches are always saying when it comes time for tithe and offering, and it's not wrong, but it's just not the total context of it. When people give tithes and whatever, they say give and it will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, and it will come back to you. That is true. It's also a song, but that's not the preface of that scripture. The preface of that scripture in Luke chapter 11 is relationship based. Give and it will come back. Whatever you give, that's what's coming back to you. So in relationships, if you give pride and arrogance and stubbornness, you're going to get back pride and arrogance and stubbornness. If you give selfishness and ignorance and jealousy and envy, you're going to get resentment and jealousy and envy. And so I said that because it wasn't, hindsight 2020, when God was unctioning me to call these people just to check on them, not to ask them for anything. I wasn't asking, I wasn't begging. If I asked for anything, I asked for prayer. When we talk and get prayer. He was asking me to do that. And when we serve one another, we are investing in our accounts. every time you get a paycheck, if you invest in the stock market, you throw it in the stock market. And sometimes it looks like it takes a loss because you've given something. But if you leave it in there and keep giving, how it grows and multiplies. When we give unto each other, you don't know the return on that investment. And because I broke down and reached out to a sisters that always check on me, we built this relationship where they were able to pray for me again and pray with me. And I was praying for them because everything that they wanted and needed happened also. And this is the other thing about that test. You know what's so good about that test? Everything that they needed at that time when we were all praying together. Well, I was praying this one, checking on my other things. Everything that they needed came to them before I got mine. Before I found out about the Turo guy. Now that's the first, well, the Turo guy's selling a car. Now that's the first thing. But when we give, you don't know when God unctions us to do something in our need, in our own personal need, in our own personal, what would be a pity pate gala. Okay, pity pate gala. When he's just telling you to maneuver and work what he's already told you to do in the meantime, and you still are obedient with everything else he's telling you to do, you are investing in what he has for you. And other people may seem like they're getting whatever it is before, but you can't get caught up in that. Just know you're in the vicinity to receive. Because if anything, when you are praying with someone and you see them getting what it is you're praying for, he in the area, because prayers are working. That's your evidence that prayers are working, right? So if that's your evidence prayers are working, keep praying and keep hoping and keep trusting. And that's what it did. It broke open the floodgates. It strengthened relationships with me and those other sisters, not because I got what I was praying for, but because we showed unity and force with one another and safety with one another. And that is a really, 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 really big deal. A safe but unapologetic place to dismantle every lie believed and live in every truth available. That was a quick interlude. However, I'm glad it was there. But it was needed, and that's how we build relationships, being vulnerable and transparent. So we're blessed with a new car. The plans are still going forth. And I will tell you, your circle matters. In business, we always say you become like the 5 people you're around the most. That's true. You got 5 lazy friends, you're going to be the 6. You got 5 broke friends, you're going to be the 6. You got 5 nasty friends, you're going to be the 6. You got 5 friendly friends, you're going to be the 6. You got 5 neat friends, you're going to be the 6. Okay. Bad company corrupts good character. Your circle matters. Okay. Especially even for those of us who are believers. You need people to speak to you when you can't speak. You need people to speak for you when you cannot speak. You need people to hold you up when your weight is heavy. I'm not talking about when you don't want to do anything to help yourself. I'm talking about when you do want to do something to help yourself and life happens. When you do just what's behind me right now, when life makes you hit a brick wall. That's why I picked this background for tonight. I hit a back wall. I hit a brick wall, and I didn't have a clue of what was going on, but I was continuing to be in contact with the Lord, getting directions, and he was constantly placing people in my life that would encourage me in spite of the mess I look like. And I want to ask you, as we go into spring and we're looking at the trees are changing. We just came out of a cold winter. And I think that's I don't know if I ever live in the, in the South again, like completely sunny and Southern. I love Florida weather. I don't know if he'll bring me back there anytime soon. But one of the greatest benefits of being in another state and seeing the seasons change is seeing the seasons change, because it's so much life in it, right? So we've just come out of this cold winter. Um, and you had fall that was so pretty. Of course, I love fall. It's my birthday. And fall was so pretty. And you had all these oranges and purples and golds and blue and greens. And the trees were just beautiful. And you saw this wave of color. And then all of a sudden they disappeared. Trees are brown, dry, and naked, like one of those old Mr. Bob paintings that used to come on Channel 42 back in the day. But it's still beautiful. And then you see snow on the ground, and everything is dry and dead. And people aren't outside mowing lawns. No grass is growing. It's just dry and dismal and cold. Life can feel like that. And alone, because oftentimes when it's cold, you're alone, you're in the house, you're not going anywhere. And then here comes spring popping up like now, and you see trees budding. I can't think of those pink flowers, but the sign of spring, they say, is those little pink flowers that start coming up. So you see all these little pink peonies or whatever they're called, little pink Japanese rose bottoms. I don't know, maybe that's perfume, but I like it anyway. The little pink flowers are popping up where there was nothing. Hedges are starting to see again. The sun was out. People are walking again around the track near my job. All of this life is coming back, right? After this dry season, life is coming back. And what's important with the life that's coming back is that all the elements are in place for life to come back. They cooperate with each other. So apart from the fact that God has all this in control, bottom line. But apart from that, the sun is providing the sunshine to dry up any extra moisture, but there's enough moisture for the ground to be wet. The moon is giving everything rest. The bees are coming out for the pollen, which is helping the plant growth. The air quality is better, regardless of what anybody may be trying to do. The air quality is better, so the trees are coming, so people have more oxygen. The sun is out longer, so people are walking longer, which brings more relationships, which brings more camaraderie and opportunity, and it's just all working together, right? After a dry season. But they have to work together because the seasons will continue. And that's the way it is with life. You have to have the right persons, elements, relationships in place. And sometimes they change. Some people are seasonal too, but that's okay. Our job is not to make them stay in seasons where they're not supposed to. Our job is to make sure that we're obedient and maximize the season that we're in with the resources that we have that we're in and the resources he gives us. And so when we're in this season and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and say, I'm dry right now. I just don't have it. I don't want to do. I don't see a spring in sight. You can have someone, God will put people in your life that you should treasure and value and appreciate. Be vulnerable with them because he will give you the right people to be vulnerable with. I'm not telling you to make some 6-page Facebook post and throw mud on the wall and see what sticks. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about wisdom, because there are times when we have to be silent and listen to him. And in his instruction, when we're alone, your biggest growth seasons a lot of times comes from a period of silence. My boys, it'll be silent for a minute. I won't hear anything. They won't grow. And then they had like 2 years of not growing. And then all of a sudden it was like 1.5 inches over, like what looked like overnight. And sometimes that's what happened. But will you stay steady and healthy enough during the dry season so that when the spring presents itself, you're in a position to receive what it has? And oftentimes you will need the right circle to do that. We were never meant to be independent. We were always meant to be interdependent. And for us to think anything other than that, it's like one piece of dirt calling another piece of dirt unnecessary. And that's just real ignorant. So remember, this is Touche Life. And here we are real. We gain our strength through our truth, which brings our testimony, which brings our transformation. Because they overcame him by the enemy, the lies, the whatever blocked them. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. But in order to have a testimony, you have to be truthful about where you are. And once you're truthful about where you are, you bring about your testimony, that brings on the transformation, because then that thing can no longer hold you back anymore. So if pride is holding you back and you're in a stuck place and you really don't know what to do or where to go or who to bring or what to say, or you really don't want to say anything because this ain't nobody else's business, or I messed up, or how people gonna look at me, God will give you the right people that will see you with his eyes. You want people with grace and glory prescription. You want people with grace and mercy prescription. In the optometrist world, we want 20/20 vision. We want people, we want people that God gives us his 20/20 vision, his grace and mercy. Because like Paul said, if not for the grace of God, there go I. So people that hold you accountable, you want people loving enough in your life to say, hey, yeah, that was wrong. Hey, we're not gonna make this a practice. Hey, this won't be a cycle. Hey, it's but I get it because I've been there. I love you because I've been there. I love you because we get caught up in, we're not supposed to judge. Well, that's not true, but that's a different story. We're not supposed to judge lest we be judged. So we're not supposed to be hypocrites in our judging. But that's a different story. The focus is to have people in your corner. Let your corner be so strong that your heart, the shape of your heart, is healthy. Because the truth of the matter is, when your shape is not strong, your circle is not strong, the decisions that you make, if you're not careful, because bad company corrupts good character, there's choices that you make based on that character that's not healthy will affect your heart posture with the Lord, with other people around you, because it's vertical and horizontal relationships. That's where festering comes in, disease comes in, weakness comes in. So much can come in, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Some relationships are weight. I was thinking about that today. One of my daughters and I were talking about that. We were talking about when one of my other daughters made a decision to do something as a teenager that wasn't right, and was compromising. Let's just say that it was compromising. And people in my church, one of my, at that time, supposed to be close friends, knew about it. Her nephews were in college and they knew about the incident. And my church friends, family, because we had like a little circle, and this so-called best friend, we were sleeping on each other's couches if need be. That's how close we were. Like, we could walk into each other's house without invitation. That's how real it was. Okay. She called me one day and was like, oh my God, I got a situation in my house. Nice house. But she's like, I'm at your house and I'm taking a shower and whatever. That's how cool we were. You don't want to go home now. We were literally friends, like the show friends and girlfriends, and what's the other one? Living single. And we were just that ride or die. But I thought about it. She knew about the situation that was compromising for one of my children. And not once did she say anything to me. Needless to say, now I still love her dearly. But that, along with many other things, which should not have been many other things, I no longer can classify her as a friend. She was a friend in season. But some people, and this is where discernment comes in, this is why you trust who the Lord puts in your path in the season he puts them in your path, because some people enjoy you being in your winter seasons because it gives them an opportunity to have a spring pride. What do I mean? Some people get a chance to better operate in their spring and summer when you're in your winter. And the goal of their friendship, based on what the devil and how he uses them, is to keep you in your winter seasons, your dryness, your unproductiveness, because it causes their spring to shine brighter. And you have to be wise enough to have friends that, not that everybody's going to always be in the same season, but you have to have friends that when you're dry, they give you spring showers, summer shade, fall beauty. And then you reciprocate that when they're in their winter. You can give them spring showers based on your season, or summer sun, or summer light, or fall beauty, as you rotate. And that's how the circle works. The seasons of friendship, the circle of friendship, when you all are together like that, then everybody's watered, everybody's nourished. Everybody has one thing in common, and that's keeping on the cycle of life. Nobody's intending to die out. The only thing that's going to die out are the things that are no longer necessary. And so as we go into March, a big month. Why? Because to me, it's the new year, but different story. It's like a new year. You got spring, everything new, all things new. Isaiah 43, all things new. The weather's changing. We're coming outside again. People associating again. God has given me a massive project to do that I'm so excited about. But as we come out in newness, out of the winter seasons, I want to encourage you to look at what you're taking in your next season. Look at who you need to be attached to in your next season to make sure that your season flourishes. And I'm not talking about using people. So enemy, if you try to come in with that and taint them with that, I bind you in the name of Jesus. I'm talking about you. What is your growth plan? What do you see your new year looking like? What do you want to accomplish this year? We're already at the end of the first quarter of 2025. We have January, your New Year's resolution, whatever. We went through February, all the love and flowers. Are you still doing self-love from February? Like, we went through the whole love thing and loving yourself first before you out here trying to give love to everybody else. Like, are you still loving yourself? What have you done for yourself? If you had a date, did you just make that a one-time experience? Or did you like how you were treated and you started learning how to do things for yourself? Or did you realize that relationship wasn't for you and you want something new? What did you do? What are you continuing? So now we're going into March, because we're already in, okay? And what will you take? Are you really going to take a winter attitude, a winter discipline, I'm talking to myself too, a winter habit into a season that's available and ready to nourish your spring flood? Because best believe one season affects the other. So if you miss spring, don't think if you don't sow in your spring season that your summer harvest is going to be on and popping. You're going to be late. One woman that I know in a business I'm in, she's like hunky dory all about I think it's October. Every October, this chick, she has like is it a cookie? No, fall, whatever. It has to be October. She has to plant these certain flowers that she wants around her house for Christmas. She has to plant them in October. It's like a ritual almost for her. But it turns into this beautiful family project that they do every year along with their cookie night. I just absolutely adore her. But whatever. She knows to plant these flowers at this particular time. My brother, who dresses me, Robert, has had almost every animal other than a donkey. And he has had every flower that had to be in the Garden of Eden. Had to be Garden of Eden. And he knows when to plant them, when to have them out, I admire people do that. My mom and daddy was like that. They was like horticulture crazy. I didn't get that. I like purple roses, white roses. I really like gardenias. But anyway, so you have to plant at the right time to harvest at the right time. Let this not be the season that we procrastinate. Do you know procrastination is related to a demon? The spirit of poverty is related to the demon of procrastination. Okay. So if we continue to procrastinate in a right now ready season, you have to understand that's going to affect our next season. Even in retail, we know that you don't wait till Valentine's Day to show Valentine's products. We're showing Valentine's in January at the end of December, right after Christmas, because the eye buys and we want to catch your attention while it's there. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Are you willing to even be prepared? Are you willing to even be vulnerable enough to have the support you need enough to be able to be ready enough to get your enough and more? That's the story. That's it right there. So check your heart health. We're coming off February. We talked a lot about the heart and relationships. I walked you through my seasons of relationships. And February was heart month. So when it comes to your heart, check your heart going into March. I know February ended yesterday, but let's check your heart going into March, because you have all the prescriptions, all the characteristics, all the signs you need to check to make sure you have a healthy heart, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially. Check your heart. And so I hope this blesses someone. We're going to have a quick commercial break. And then there's one other thing, just a few tips I want to give you that may help you with your heart health. And we'll be right back. Hey, before we go, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. And I know that this will bless you. And if it's not for you, bless someone else with it, because God doesn't waste words. He doesn't waste experiences. He doesn't waste time. So the fact he gave me those experiences to be able and put it on my heart to share, because this was not my original message. And he did his divine interruption to do that. I know that it's for someone to be blessed. And so please be obedient and do so. A few quick things I want to touch base with you. Please be on the lookout for courses that will be coming shortly onto shaylife.com. If you have ever experienced divorce, and if you don't have the support you need. When I went through my divorce, I didn't have the support that I needed. That's not blaming. Some people just didn't know how to do it. Some people just say pray for you. Some people just stay away from you because they're like, oh, but there are some things that I learned and God taught me, and he asked me to put those in a Ready Right Now course. So be on the lookout for that. It may not be for you, may be for someone you know. And there'll also be personal invitations and conversations. I guess you can say coaching, if you will, with that. But more importantly, they will be courses that are available with exercises to walk you through that season of change. So I'm excited about that. The other thing is March is Women's Appreciation Month. And so we're honoring women all month long. I'm super excited about one particular woman that has a story to tell. And it is now the season, because everything's done in decency and in order. It is now the season for her to begin to share her story, not boastfully or to degrade or minimize, but to free those who may not have a voice. So she will be on very soon. I believe the 3rd episode, and I'm excited about that. Also, oh my God, have you ever wanted to be in the presence of a king? I mean, could you imagine just encountering a king at the king's banquet? Well, it's possible and it's happening. So stay tuned for more as we have an opportunity to have an encounter with the king, because you are chosen. You are chosen for such a time as this. So I'm excited about that as well. Now, kicking off of before we go with our heart, just want to throw a couple things at you real quick for some heart healthy tips. I am not a doctor. I won't say this for entertainment purposes only, but I mean, because it's not, when I think of entertainment, I'm thinking like just funny and just talking. I'm very serious about what I say. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling anyone to try it. I'm just sharing some fun facts. If you don't already have cayenne pepper, a high grade of good quality capsaicin high cayenne pepper, keep you some cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper has been proven to assist with opening the capillaries of our bodies, which helps with blood pressure. It helps with acid indigestion. If you're having an acid indigestion heartburn issue, you can put your little cayenne pepper in some water, swig it down. It does help with that. Sinuses, it's just a bunch of things with it. If you really want someone to break it down for you, go to barbaraoneal.com. I do not know her. She may never meet me. She don't know why I'm saying this. I'm telling you about Barbara O'Neal. If heart issues are part of your problem, if you have a rapid heart or a too slow heart or whatever case may be, no, I'm not a doctor. Check with your doctor, do what you need to do, but be diligent in all things. Don't just always let people spoon feed you stuff. God has called doctors, he's called us into our various gifts and capabilities, and we are to use them for him. But he's the ultimate healer. And so he also gives us wisdom. So if he has given you a doctor who is excellent, follow that doctor, and that's great, but also use wisdom and ask God to speak to you and speak to your doctor. Something called hawthorn berry is extremely beneficial for those with heart issues. That's what I wanted to say. So those two things came to mind. Cayenne pepper. It's okay to keep it in your purse. It might be a great little, it should be a part of your first aid kit. Should be a part of your first aid kit. And just keep yourself healthy. Also, oregano oil, 80% carvacrol, oregano oil. Try to shoot for 80%. I know they have 60 and 70%, but 80% is really where you want to go. Check your local health food store. You want 80% wild oregano, organic, or oil for carvacrol. Also, you can try Barbara O'Neal. Dr. What is his name? Oh, I'm looking at his face. Dr. Bird. Dr. Bird is great as well. 4 drops of oregano oil under your tongue, maybe with a carrier oil like olive oil or coconut oil. You put it in water and swig it down. But it really helps with respiratory, helps with sinuses, and oregano oil is not only antiviral, but it's antifungal and antibacterial and antimicrobial. So it hits things that most things can't. It's just great to have in your medicine cabinet or your apothecary. So if you don't have an apothecary and you don't have a medicine cabinet, let's start keeping these things on hand. I'm a Florida girl. So let me tell you something. Florida, June 1st, everybody know hurricane season through November 30th. Now I know up here in the north where I was, you got the winter storms you can be blocked in. So as weather is changing, political climates are changing, have things on hand that you may not need every day, but you will have in need in case you can't go out one day, right? So, and learn how to make your own flu bomb if you haven't already. That's something I can tell you that we do here as the colds are still going. Lastly, we, have the flu bomb, might take 3-4 cloves of garlic, Again, I'm not telling you to try this. I'm telling you what we do. 3-4 cloves of garlic, quarter teaspoon, half teaspoon ginger, half teaspoon cayenne pepper, half teaspoon, quarter teaspoon of turmeric, 1 drop of eucalyptus oil, a drop of you don't need eucalyptus, 1 drop, a tiny teeny drop eucalyptus oil. If you don't have eucalyptus oil, you can use a drop of tea tree oil. This is not something to try to get excited on. Just a drop of it. And then you boil it, and then you pour it into your coffee mug. You would put your lemon in there. Then if you really want to spruce it up, put lemon and lime, but you put your lemon in, and you put your honey in and sweeten it to taste. If you take about a half a cup of that 3 times a day, especially if you have some congestion, that really helps. Sinus, pneumonia, bronchitis, flu, COVID, cold, whatever the case may be. It is known to help. I'm not telling you to try it. I am not a doctor. This is not proven. I just know what works for me. And lastly, if you have a cough, keep you some purple onion, the red onion, purple onion. I call it purple onion. A lot of people call it red onion. Pick a color, whatever. Purple onion. If you have a cough, cut a slice, cut a piece, put it up under the bottom of your foot, and it aids in the cough. Why? I don't know. Is it what is the word in it? I can't think of the word, but it's a word. And then if you must put it on your chest, put some on your chest, but it really aids with the cough. Really want to get funky. Cut up some onion, boil it, and drink you an onion tea. Oh my gosh. You talk about some energy. What is it? Is it a psyllium? It's a word. But anyway, you can get energy from it. It's great. It works in the body. It's I think it's antimicrobial, antibacterial, I know, but it's very good for the body. So those are just little health tips that you can have as we're changing seasons, because a lot of times changing season come with sinuses and all that kind of stuff. And we want to do things new in this new season, the right way with the right people at the right time. So since we want to do that, make sure you share this information. I hope that you found something that I said beneficial. And if it's from the Lord, it can't help be beneficial if it's just one thing. He don't waste time, like we said. I love you. I appreciate you. I am cheering you on in your new season. Your spring has sprung, and I am excited. But don't stop your springing, because you're bringing in a dry season. We're going in with some sunshine and fresh flowers and fresh fruits. And I'm just excited to be able to share with you. I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. I can't wait till we get back together. Please stay tuned on Touche Life, Facebook and Instagram under Touche Life, because some big things are popping. And I want you to be a part of it, especially if you're up here with us. I want you to come to a night with the King. You'd be surprised the encounter that you have. I love you like a lot. Here at Touche Life, it's not just a podcast, respectfully. We talk about all things life, but we also connect to make a difference.